After a whirlwind 2021, 2022 could hold even more potential for people investing in cryptocurrency. Last year was a record year for the markets as Bitcoins and Ether hit all-time highs. Altcoins and other digital assets also surged in popularity. 2022 may bring even more big swings for investing. MoneyWatch reporter Khristopher Brooks took a look at the trends and wrote about what could be coming for investors this year. And he joins me now to talk more about all of this. Thanks for joining us. The thing about Bitcoin is it did hit an incredible high, like a little bit above 60, I think. And then it kind of slowly started to drift downwards. And the end of 2021 wasn't the best, I don't think, for Bitcoin. And what I've noticed, and trust me, I know very little about this, is wherever Bitcoin goes, so do other cryptocurrencies. They tend to sort of follow the Bitcoin wave. So that brings me to this. Can you just sort of get us up to speed on how cryptocurrencies evolved last year?
Good morning, Anne-Marie. So yeah, it was a crazy year for crypto, as you said. Like you mentioned, Bitcoin got as high as $69,000 in value last year. Ether got around 4,400, and Ripple, another really popular coin, got around $2.75. So a lot of the popular ones saw their value increase over the year. But then there were other things not exactly tied to the value that happened that was really big last year. There was a couple of really important crypto-focused companies that went public. You might remember Coinbase and Crypto.com. There was that really sort of controversial or weird Matt Damon commercial where he was sort of pegging crypto. And you probably saw towards the end of the year as well, Crypto.com scored the naming rights to what I guess now the former Staples Center, and that was called Crypto.com Arena. So it was a huge, huge year for everything that was crypto last year. So 2022 may have some of that in store as well.
Yeah, and I think, it probably helped in a way that a lot of people were home during the pandemic. You had kind of the surging popularity of apps like Robinhood that made it really easy to buy crypto. You didn't need like a crypto wallet anymore. You could just sort of buy it the way you would buy any stock. So you get a lot of novices like me suddenly, dabbling in cryptocurrency. But that brings us to 2022. There are, certainly a lot of ups and downs, and we'll give people actually a little bit of explainer because there's Bitcoin and then there are altcoins. So can you talk a little bit about the difference between Bitcoin and the altcoins that are available, and where do things stand right now with them?
Yeah, I like to use a very simplistic version and explain the two differences to people this way. So altcoin very specifically is every other coin except Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin is sort of the most popular one and perhaps in its own stratosphere. So Ether, Ripple, we're talking any other coin that's not Bitcoin is what they consider an altcoin. And then Bitcoin is sort of its own thing. So if you're invested in like Litecoin, or if you're invested in Shiba Inu, or anything like that, that's the altcoin category. And for both of those, at least at the beginning of this early January, they're both relatively down. They started to go down at the end of December, and these first few weeks of January really hasn't been kind to them either. But as you already noted in 2021, that was sort of the same activity. They went up really, really high, came down really, really low. There was this aggressive, volatile activity between them. So we're perhaps starting to see at the beginning of 2022, the dip low, and then at some point it'll go back high again.
It's been interesting watching the conversation about cryptocurrency kind of broaden, because I think it used to be just amongst people who were already kind of converts, and then now other people are talking about it. And it's really sort of two extremes. Like some people are evangelists and there's, insisting that you get involved in cryptocurrencies, and other people are basically calling it smoke and mirrors. And talking about that cryptocurrencies is supposed to be independent, but they are sort of heavily influenced by kind of the mainstream economy. So I'm curious, the investors that you spoke to, what do they expect for 2022? Are these swings going to continue? What are they saying?
The investors I spoke to expect those wild swings, and they're still going to invest knowing that that's going to happen. They expect it to happen. They're okay with it. They are what I call sort of those long-term investors, right? So they're not really going to watch the markets every day and get a heart attack over the wild swings. They're just going to continue to put their money in there periodically or regularly and just ride this thing out for the long term. But they know. I mean, if 2021 and even 2020 taught us anything, is that really these assets are extremely volatile. And there's nothing so far that they've done to them to sort of regular and keep them sort of predictable. So if you're going to invest in cryptocurrencies, you sort of have to come knowing that those swings are going to happen and be okay with them.
And one of the things that keeps crypto investors on the edge of their seat is whether or not regulators will jump in and start to try to create some rules around this stuff because, it is very volatile and you can win big and you can lose big. What sort of effect do we think the either regulators stepping in or even the speculation that regulators may step in, what sort of effect could that have on the worth of some of these cryptocurrencies?
Well, what I'm hearing so far is, so there's a separate category of cryptocurrency called stable coins that the government is much more likely to regulate because these coins are closer tied to commodities, right? Closer tied to gold or to calorie oil or something like that. So their swings on the market aren't as aggressive. So the ones that are considered stable coin, if they do, the government does get into regulating those prices may sort of start to get more predictable and those swings and those would be a little bit less aggressive. But for your regular Bitcoin and altcoin, not too much of a difference. At least from what I've seen so far, if the government does come in and step in and regulate those, you're right. The whole point of crypto was so that it was what we call decentralized. It wasn't tied to any particular government or particular market. So it should still stay that way if the government decides to step in and make some rules.
Well, Khristopher, you've managed to shed a little bit more light on it for many of us. It's still sort of a big dark hole for me, but I appreciate it. Khristopher, thank you very much.
Of course, Anne-Marie.
So if you want to read more of Khristopher's article, you can do so by heading to cbsnews.com, of course.